Woohoo!
All right, here we are. All right, everyone. Welcome back to the IDP Lounge. My name is Nathan. You can find me on Twitter at Nate Cheat. Today, we are missing our two regular hosts, Joey the Tooth and Hollywood. Um, they had other things going on, so they're missing out on the lounge. But joined today with Clinton and Steve, Dynasty Santa. This was going to be the IDP Guys Takeover, but we are, we're here, we're doing it.
We can
You know,
mix up some with some IDP stuff. We can hold our own, I think.
yeah,
I'm still a
no, this would
baby.
be good. So, if anyone out there wants to, send any comments in, any questions, we more than happy to kind of answer those, talk about those. But, let's do a little quick introduction of you guys and what you got going on. So, Clinton, let's start with you. Just give us a little bit of like where people can find your stuff, what you're doing, and how you're liking being a part of IDP guys.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. You can find I'm on Twitter at Clinton Holmgren is my handle, just my first and last name. Been doing some DFS stuff in the last couple of weeks. Otherwise, mostly offensive and dynasty stuff. Been playing fantasy football since 2004. And fun fact, today is my 35th birthday, so I'm on here on my
Oh,
birthday.
happy birthday.
Yeah, yeah,
Saw that on Twitter earlier.
yeah.
Nice. Happy birthday.
Thanks. Yeah.
That's great. Cool. All right, Santa, let's go with you. Give the spiel. Give the the normal opening segment here.
Steve, I go by Dynasty Santa on Twitter. That's pretty much where I live. All my content and fantasy related work is all on IDP Guys, and just really enjoying being a part of the team, doing some editing, doing some social. So trying to help grow the brand. The team,
Yeah.
the team.
Oh, absolutely. I'm still waiting for you to get the Santa hat in so that you can
Yes,
do it on the
I
stream.
know. It actually did arrive, but I've had a crazy day, so I am rocking the backwards trucker hat still today. But sooner, probably the next time I make an appearance, I'll be rocking the Santa hat.
Nice. There we go. Good stuff. All right. Well, so before we get into the football, the questions, the week 2 analysis and all that, I've had an interesting day and I want to get your guys' take on this. So out here in New England, we are big during the season for fairs. It's a big fair season right now. So I want to
Okay.
hear what's it like in your area? What are fairs like? Is there anything interesting about it? Like I live a couple hours out of New York City, Boston. When you come out here and you see my neighborhood, you think city. And I just walked through like pens of cows, goats, rabbits, the whole shebang in a fair that was 15 minutes away.
Oh boy.
So it was a very surreal, watching, very farm people that were
Yeah.
tending to these animals, which they're locals to that area. So it's not like
Mhm.
they ship them in. And then very city people walking through, commenting about not getting, pooped on by the cows or something. Um, what's it like out by you guys? Clinton, I know you're in, shit. Minnesota?
Yeah, Minnesota.
Okay,
Yeah,
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 we
yeah,
were literally just
yeah.
talking about this off air. So, and then Santa, you're out of Philly, right?
Yeah, Philly suburbs.
Yeah. So let's go with you, Clinton. You're
Yeah.
you're more Midwestern, obviously, and Midwestern. You think of fairs, you think of
Mhm.
cattle and all that kind of stuff. So, what's it like out by you?
Yeah, Minnesota is very well known for its fairs. Just about every county has one each year, every summer. And then there's the Minnesota State Fair, which is one of the best in the country. It's always rated one of the
Oh
best in
yeah.
the country. So if you ever get to Minnesota around August through Labor Day, is usually when they hold that. But yeah, we the county fair in our town here is only less than 2 miles away from our house.
Mhm.
Um, it's interesting. I mean, it's just it's small town. We
Yeah.
live outside of, well. there's probably like 4 cities in our area, totaling about over 100,000 people, maybe. We have a bigger city. We're about an hour northwest of Minneapolis, right in the central part of Minnesota. Um, Now, as far as like uniqueness of our fair, nothing really. There's like demolition derbies and tractor pulls and truck pulls and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's great. They're fun to go to. Like you said, all the livestock and stuff like that. But if you're gonna go to Minnesota, go to the Minnesota State Fair, and even go twice because there's just so much stuff
Oh yeah.
to go to and things
Awesome.
like that. So yeah, we grew up small town, so that's all normal to me. Hearing that, you could, in a lot of places you live, you can look out your back door and there's a farm or cows or coyotes
Oh,
running
yeah.
around or something. But
Yeah, I mean, I'm originally from Michigan, so
oh
I
yeah,
understand the
Oh, yeah.
Midwestern,
Yeah.
and we had the Northwest Michigan Fair, which like I still have that jingle from their advertisement stuck in my head. And it's interesting because that was, when I was growing up, that was the only fair. Like everyone from the different counties in the region would go there. And then moving out here, it's like there's one of those in every town,
Yeah.
just scheduled throughout the early to late fall out here, and pretty much the locals just hop around. Like we
yeah.
did the Berlin Fair, and then the Durham Fair is coming up, and then the Big E, which is the state regions. So there's Connecticut, like all of New England pitches in for this fair.
Oh wow.
And yeah, so they have like little buildings for each state, and you go in there and it's like it's big enough to like funnel through and then back in each of these, and they're like old colonial style buildings, and you get all vendors from those states, and it's just everyone, like they get 1 million people a day through there.
Yeah.
So it's wild. But what about the Philly area, Steve?
Yeah.
What is it like out there?
I was gonna say that's what's hot in the streets in the Northeast, right? All these like farmers markets and fairs and all that kind of stuff. So I live like right outside of Reading, PA. So I've migrated a bit further west from where I grew up at. But out here, yeah, same thing. Like almost every weekend when the weather's nice. I actually just came. That's why like I was on like a minute before we started because we did. Today was a fall fest. They shut down the main street, and then me and my wife help out a dog rescue. So we were there with them with their tent and booth and try to get people to adopt dogs all day, which is also very hot in the streets right now, adopting dogs out and stuff like that. So yeah, but we're also being in this area. I forgot where we could drive like 15-20 minutes and. We're in Amish country. So like Lancaster, PA, which is very famous for their Amish population, is, a stone's throw away from us. So that's where we always go to get produce and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, it's a very diverse mix of people. That's for sure. Out in these areas, you've got the sticks and the Amish, and then the more rural, urban diverse crowd. In this area. So it's cool. It's cool to see all the different people. So
yeah, absolutely. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I grew up not really near Amish country, but there were little pockets.
Similar,
and we would go to their farms and pick up whatever little wares, or usually like honey or eggs, or that kind of stuff. And it was always interesting. Definitely not a life I could live. Especially since I literally, survive off of technology. But I just happened to be coming from the fair, and I thought, hey, why don't we start off the conversation today talking about that? We're getting into fall, but you know what? Let's transition from fair to football and talk, what we're here for today. So we got week 2 starting up. What's the matchups you guys are looking at that you are really looking forward to watching? Steve, I know you're a Eagles fan. Clinton, are you a Vikings fan?
Yeah,
Okay.
sadly. Yeah.
Hey, I'm a Lions
We're-
fan, so
yeah.
you're doing
Oh
better than
yeah.
us.
Yeah. This week, yeah, I don't know. I don't have any faith that they'll keep up with the Cardinals, especially what they did last week. I don't
Mhm.
know. I mean, I think the ball will be thrown around a lot, but I don't think they'll be able to handle hanging with them at all. I think the Vikings are going to go 0-3, 0-4 to start the year, in trouble.
Oh boy.
But yeah, my
Yeah. Get behind the 8 ball there real quick.
Cowboys Chargers. I think that might be one of the most exciting games this week.
Mhm.
They're the afternoon game. Cowboys defense is banged up, but it's always fun to watch those guys. And then Chiefs Ravens obviously Sunday night. That'll be
Yeah, that's
a
gonna
good
be a
show.
big one.
Mahomes and Lamar. That's always a blast. But
Yeah. So we were talking, I feel like it was last week. Santa, did you come on the Start Sit show? Is that what
Yes.
I'm thinking? And you were
Yep.
talking about the Philly game, how you had no faith, and you
I
thought
know.
that
The defense. The
yeah, the
defense
defense.
was what I was more
he looked good
concerned
last week.
about. And they showed up. Yeah, they proved me. For my first Start Sit show, I'm pretty sure if we go back, I mushed just about every and was wrong about just about every take and call I tried to make. So off to a great start. But hey, if it benefited the birds, then I'm okay with that.
That's how it always works. You got to play it down and then you get excited. Oh,
Right.
surprised. Yeah. Hurts looked good though. He looked real good. I'm glad for
Yeah.
him.
Mm.
I like him a lot.
I know this week should be a tough test with 49ers. It's our home game, so yeah, I don't know. That's going to be a test. I mean, it was interesting how the Niners kind of let the Lions come back on them last week. So
Goff almost did his thing. He almost came
yeah,
back and beat those
Yeah.
guys.
of
I
all
was getting
people, like,
worried.
mhm,
I was just like, so the game started and the Lions were so I didn't get to really watch the whole game, but I got
sure,
to essentially like see a little bit on red zone things that were happening. I was like, Lions were sticking in there a little bit, and then it
yeah,
just the doors blew wide open and they were getting beat. And I was like, okay, this is what I'm expecting. And hey, this is fine. Like, we're gonna get a top pick. And then they started coming back. And I was just sitting there, and my wife can tell you because she was sitting
wow,
next to me. I was just like, oh no, oh no, like
mhm,
don't do this. Don't be, and it was just a matter of one, it was cardiac city again because you're just
yeah.
on the edge of your seat.
They're
Like,
giving you
are they
that
gonna
false
do
hope.
it?
Yeah,
Yeah, get it. Well, yeah, I mean, false hope, but false, like, I don't want them to win. Okay, don't
you're in
lose
tank
every
mode. Yeah,
game, but it's tank. Like, let's
Yeah,
yeah,
tank
you want
for
you want
whoever.
Rattler quarterback. You want somebody to come
Yeah,
in. Yeah, yeah.
uh,
exactly. Like,
mm,
and so Goff was almost there to lead the charge for
mm,
a comeback, and I knew if he did it, Goff would just the Lions fan base would lose sight of the goal and they
mhm.
would start anointing Goff as the second coming of Stafford.
Right. Like, oh, what a great trade we made
Right,
for
right.
1 week. Yeah, I know it's tough. Like the early season outcomes are so tough, like to process. Is it gonna keep up the whole season, or is this just a fake out for the first couple of weeks? It's so hard to really distinguish that stuff, man.
Well, it's like on
Right.
the opposite end of that game where San Fran came out hot, and you're like, when Jimmy
Yeah.
threw for 300 yards, he didn't do it once last year or whatever. So you're like,
Hmm.
was he going to continue that, or because obviously they probably want to get Lance in there, but maybe Shanahan
Right.
wants to wait, and it's just like, okay, are they going to play like that every week? Mostert goes down
Hmm.
right away, whatever.
Hmm.
Then Elijah Mitchell steps up, and he's a hot topic this week,
Yeah.
obviously, but who
I,
knows?
my,
Ayuk stunk. He didn't do anything.
yeah. I was all in on Trey Sermon. I'm like, I'm
Oh yeah,
panicking right now. I
I'm
am
not. Yeah, I have faith in
far
him.
overexposed on Sermon shares that I am really panicking right now. Like, it's fine if Elijah Mitchell does well, but man, I just don't know what's going on. I've heard that possible vaccine, possible doghouse. Like, nobody's really clear on what's
For
going on. But I
Sermon.
feel like, yeah, for
Oh,
Sermon, like. So
Mhm.
I'm interested to see what happens this week, big time.
I have a lot of shares of him too, and I watched a little bit in the preseason, and I just don't know if his NFL speed is there. I'm not an expert by any means in any of that, like a scouting wise, but it just didn't look like what are you doing out there, and that might be what they saw. I don't know. It just doesn't look fast enough to play. But I have him everywhere. Yeah.
We try to trust these beat writers, and it sounded like the beat writers were all over Sermon. Like he was the best running back in camp out of everyone, including Mostert, including these other Hasty, Mitchell. Like, so where did this come from? Like, that's why it made no sense. Yeah, I said it on the Start Sit show. Like, yeah, his athletic profile is nothing to write home about for sure. But like so you can have system running backs, and he seemed to fit the system. Shanahan traded up to get him. Like, all the signs were there pointing to him being a home run fantasy player this year, and just complete strikeout. Like, didn't even see the field. like sprained his ankle in the locker room. Didn't even get to go to bat. Like, what is going on? So very frustrating.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what was the kind of investment that you had to put in to get Sermon. I'm trying to pull up our ADP right now.
Yeah, I mean, in most of the rookie drafts that I had, he was beginning in like the second, like mid to early second, but then some by the end of the like fantasy, the dynasty draft years or season, like he was starting to go in the late first because people were hyping him up so much.
Yeah, he was sneaking into the first. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm looking right now at the IDP Guys rookie offensive ADP for September. So these were the last mocks we were doing. He's RB4, and he is overall number 7.
Right.
Damn.
Yeah.
You can't, and that's what I mean. You can't. In redraft, I was personally reaching for him everywhere in like round 4. I think in my home keeper league, I even took him in round 3 because I didn't want to miss him on the turn coming back. So round 4 was the sweet spot for me taking him in redraft. And obviously, you can't. One weekend, you can't really cut bait yet. But man, if he's active at least and not getting carries this week, that's going to be troubling. And if he's inactive again with Mostert down, like that's going to be very, very.
Have they said anything? Is he playing tomorrow?
I haven't heard anything yet.
It's the same with Moss and Buffalo. Like,
I
wasn't paying attention to that. Then all of a sudden, I have him in my Scott Fishbowl team. And I had Ayuk and Gage, and I mean, I still scored 170 points, but I had all 3 of those guys in my lineup. I mean, I didn't have anybody to replace Moss with, but a kicker. I still went to won me the game, but that was weird. Yeah,
I had Gage started in a ton of leagues, though. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I was expecting something out of Gage and didn't get anything. But before we move off onto other players, David Kelly off of YouTube has a great question, and this is definitely targeted at me. What do you need or how much to see out of Goff to make me comfortable with him going forward? I saw a lot out of this game because I've rewatched it, and the decision making is not there. The amount of times he was throwing inaccurate into double or triple coverage was astounding. The fact that they mounted that comeback, I think, was a lot of luck. How do you?
Of course,
there was what was it? A onside kick recovery that beamed what's his face, the tight end there in San Fran, George Kittle in the face.
Kittle. Okay.
So it took an opportune bounce as he was going down and popped up onto his helmet and goes right into a lion's arms essentially. So that there was a lot of luck there, but then watching and just seeing what he was doing, it was kind of frustrating to see. I don't think there's anything that I could see out of Goff that would make me like him. He's a bridge quarterback at this point for me.
100%.
I'm fine with writing that out and getting someone to come in and sit behind him for a little bit of time and just being what was nice about having Stafford was we were never in a situation like with Tua or with Fields in Chicago, where it's like, when do you start them? When's the right time? When you don't want to start them too late, but you don't want to start them too early, that kind of stuff. We didn't have to deal with that problem. So I think that's coming for us. I think that's definitely on the horizon. And to be completely honest, I wish that they would have flipped Goff after they got him. I mean, eat some of that price, that cost, because that was part of the trade anyways, and send him to Washington. And I would have been happy with Fitzpatrick at the helm. Do you imagine, like, watching your team and knowing that you're gonna lose and you're probably gonna get that first round pick, but you do it with such style. And
at least make it fun.
To see him. Make it fun, make it entertaining. And it was sad to see him go down this week, and Heineke, or technically last week at this point, because they played on Thursday night, and Heineke getting that start, which wasn't. I mean, that game was. I was watching it with some Giants fans, so it was a little more entertaining for me, watching their pain.
Except the end.
And that was even better.
Yeah.
It was just, I was basking in the pain of it. And then I went on a show with two more Giants fans the next day, and I was just poking at them, because in the end, I'm a Lions fan, and they've gotten 2 rings in 15 years. So I don't mind it.
Yeah,
be bad.
Yeah, I think for Goff, just like you said, not making the bad decisions. If he can manage the ball, they have 2 really good running backs. They have a great tight end. You can start arguing, if he has weeks like you did last week, you're arguing with him as one of the top 3 with those guys. With Hawkinson, it's just which receiver is going to step up. With him, there's nobody there. I mean, Cephas kind of showed a little bit last week. Like, are they gonna, is he gonna do that consistently for them? Who knows? But.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think Cephas, it was a matter of being at it was an opportunity for him to get that touchdown. He wasn't really being targeted all that much. He just happened to come in, run the right route, and hopefully that they open that up for him. I do like Cephas. Talked about this before on the show. Him and Amon Ra. Yeah, those guys are good stashes. I think that it's going to be more and more, over the season, where they're going to get integrated in. And but at the same point, when one of them are on a crossing route and there's 3 defenders, Goff can't throw that way. If there's 3 guys on one person, there's gotta be at least 2 other guys wide open.
I think we know what Goff is, right? I mean, he came from one of the best offensive minds and couldn't, got it sort of done for like 1 year. And, now he's with the Lions, Dan Campbell, who's not an offensive guru by any means. He blew up in garbage time. Let's call it what it is. They had 10 points before that third quarter, which DeAndre Swift did all the work to score there. So, like, he's benefiting, from the play of his position players there, and really did nothing for 2.5 quarters. So I'm not sure if Dave was talking from a fantasy standpoint or from a real football line standpoint. They kind of go hand in hand, I feel like, at this point. And you want to see Goff more consistent earlier in the game when he's not playing essentially backup defenses. So he kind of went off against backup defenses. Great. Not a great look, though, moving forward for both fantasy or real football. So that's my stance on him. Like, like you said, bridge quarterback, 100%. If he's there past next year, I would be shocked.
Right. And after next year is when he has that out, or the Lions have that out with his contract. He's essentially, they have to pay him for 2 years, and then that's it. So, and that's kind of also why they, I believe, gave the coaching staff an extra 2 years on their contract, because they knew that it's going to be a lot to rebuild. And what I will say, the bright side is the fact that the team did rally and continue to play,
Mhm.
that says something about the coaching.
Yeah, it's nice
That
that they didn't
absolutely
quit
does.
for sure.
Yeah. They quit on Patricia all the
Oh
time.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Like they hated him. So
Which, by the sound of it, he kind of deserved that, right?
right.
Reports
He
were
was an
not great.
asshole.
He was not a player's coach. Let's just say that.
No.
Did he go anywhere, or is
absolutely
he
not.
just not coaching anywhere? Did he go back to Bill? Did he go back
He's
to New
back
England?
with Bill.
Is
I
he?
think so.
Yep.
Yeah, I think so.
Sure.
So he is in the front office. He's not a coach, and I believe
Okay.
it's because if he takes another coaching job, Detroit doesn't have to pay him.
Oh,
So
that's
this is
always
what
how it
usually
works.
happens when a coach gets fired. You know, they never get fired at the end of a contract. And Patricia
Yeah.
actually had just gotten his contract renewed for 4 years or whatever. So
Right.
he's getting free money from that team. And as long as he doesn't get another coaching job, he can be in an advisory role. I don't even know if New England has to pay him.
Interesting.
You know,
That's very New England like, right?
right?
That would
right.
be very New England Patriots.
Come help us out. We're not going to give you any money though.
The Patriot way.
Detroit's paying
right. Yeah. So, but you know what? On the flip side, let's talk about a former Detroit Lion who had an amazing game. Matthew Stafford, the Rams. We got to see their coming out party, and Stafford sure
Yeah.
did it.
Yeah.
That game was electric. Van Jefferson, that first touchdown pass, that was good to see. What did you guys see out of that game? And did you at any point think this looks a little bit like the Lions of past, when there was a little dip in some of the offensive firepower there, like middle of the game, but right before the half? Did you guys see that too?
Yeah, watch that one. It did feel very. I mean, maybe it's just because it's Stafford. Like that's just his style. That you're going to put that offense around him. You also, at this point, you don't know what their running backs are going to do, so he has to throw the ball, just like in Detroit. Like Akers is out. Like he probably obviously would have been the guy. You know, um, but it is still the same Rams. There's still like 5 targets to throw the ball to, and how you decide. But he fell in love with Cup. But you're right. There was a dip in the middle of the game. You're like, what are they doing? This feels like the Rams that has for the last 3 years. Just that small little hiccup.
Yeah, it was. I was getting a little worried because it came out electric. It looked like a planned drive, and usually that is what it is. The first drive is planned, and he had that down. And then it was as the other team, as Chicago started to figure it out, the Rams offense just kind of sputtered a little bit. And that got me worried. And actually on Twitter, you could see a lot of the former Stafford haters start saying that Goff was a better quarterback
Jesus.
in Lions Twitter. And it was just like, oh my God. And then Stafford bounces back in the third quarter, and it's old news. Like,
I mean,
just,
that's how football goes. It's not going to be all fire. It's not the greatest show on turf doesn't happen that much anymore. There's a reason they got that nickname. Like it doesn't come around all the time. I mean, Stafford, we know what he is, and he's a gunslinger now mixed with McVay. I mean, he's somebody I was targeting everywhere for redraft, especially. But if I could get him in dynasty too, then I was certainly trying. So I think he's a great target for the rest of the year and moving forward, even in dynasty leagues. I mean, he should be with that team. I mean, quarterbacks are playing, we see, into their late 30s, early 40s. So you still got, potentially 5, 6, 7 more years out of Stafford at a high level. So love it.
Yeah. No, that
not
was
worried about anything really with McVay. Yeah.
My price increase, my value increase, because I get Stafford. Redrafts, it was a common thing. But in Dynasty, I always ended up picking him in startups because he would just go so late, and I knew his potential. And when he went to the Rams, it was just like my shares had, they were kind of like, oh, you've got Stafford, like, to like, oh man, you've got Stafford, and I got him everywhere. So that was pretty great.
Even this year, like, so you're taking a redraft league for a 10-team league. There were still leagues he's not drafted in, which is and
yeah.
I mean,
Wild.
there's so many quarterbacks out there that are
True.
quality, but now that you see him for a week, you're like, crap. We probably should have taken him. At the end when you're debating between Burrow or Stafford or at the end of your 10-man league or whatever. But
Yeah, honestly, this year I wasn't able to get him in as many redraft leagues because his value had spiked so much. He was going after the top 5.
Sure.
And I
People
was
bold
trying to
enough
get
to
him
do that. Yeah.
closer to the 10th QB. Just thinking that he would be in his normal spot, late in the 8th, 9th round, and I could get him, but he was actually going, especially in Superflex redraft leagues.
Oh yeah,
third round, second round, just crazy high up there. But I think he deserves it, and it's looking. Was he the number 1 QB this week?
he threw
No.
320, 321, and 3 touchdowns. I don't think so.
I think
Kyler
Dak
probably
and Brady
was.
and
Okay.
Kyler, he
Yeah.
was up there for sure,
Yeah.
but I don't think the number 1.
Right.
Yeah.
Curious where that
I
lands.
think the lack of the running and stuff is what
yeah,
what hurt
that's true.
But I think
not much of a runner.
Kyler was probably number 1.
That makes sense. Yeah. So let's see. We got a couple questions here that are start sits from Malcolm Merriweather on Facebook. Let's see if we can hammer these out real quick. Pick one to start: Pascal, Beasley, Hamler, or Marshall.
To me, that's a toss-up. Yeah, Pascal. I like Pascal, but I want to see it one more week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Man, Beasley got a lot of targets last week.
So Pascal, right? Pittman's going to be out, I think. I think he's busted up.
He's hurt too.
Oh, yeah, I think I heard that.
Then Pascal's your guy. Yeah.
Yeah, well, but they've got who? The Rams, I think. So you've got why can't I find the Colts game?
I think I have it over here.
Yeah, Rams. So you've got potentially Ramsey on him. So that's like he should be the target hog potentially, but will Ramsey shut him down? So that's a tough one. Beasley, I think, weirdly has the safest floor. So if we're doing the floor ceiling thing, if you're going on the safe side, I like Beasley. Hamler, I love as a YOLO play. If let's say you got crushed on Thursday or something and trying to play catch up, I think Hamler. There's talks that like him, Teddy Bridgewater had him like next to his locker room or something like that. So maybe they are striking a little rapport. And I mean, Terrace Marshall, I love him as a player and the talent, but I don't think for week 2 he's going to be quite ready. He's pretty much a touchdown or bust guy. So I'd probably rank them: Beasley tier 1, Pascal Hamler tier 2, and Marshall tier 3 for me.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I would probably. I would take the risk and play Pascal there. I think Wentz likes him a lot. Yeah. But Beasley gets a ton of targets. But there's so many receivers in Buffalo now that you're like, because Sanders was healthy, Gabe Davis. I think he hit the injury report this week, but I think he's playing. And then obviously Diggs. But
gotcha.
Marshall, you're right about Marshall. Yeah,
and they got off to a
redraft.
Yeah, the Bills got off to such a slow start too. Like I feel like they can only go up, and Beasley even had a decent game in a PPR standpoint. So that if the offense goes better, then Beasley should go right along with them. So Beasley, Pascal.
How did you like the price on Beasley this offseason? I got him in a few different places, and he went undrafted in places. Because of the fear from the shot, the vaccine stuff. But like, he's on the field. Last year he was a pretty solid start at wide receiver at like what your WR2, maybe your third slot. He's pretty consistent, and now like anyone out there that I took the chance on it. I took that gamble. Do you think it pays off? Where do you think it goes from here?
Yeah, I mean, what I'm just looking at last week, he had 8 catches for 60 yards. That's pretty
Yeah,
good. And
for
especially if you're
PPR.
full PPR, right?
Mhm.
But
I mean,
obviously,
that's his game, right? He's never going to give you those 200-yard, 3 touchdown, like Julio potential type games, but he's just that ultimate like safe floor type guy. Yeah, and he's gonna bust too. He's gonna have 3 catches, 41 yards games too, but that 8 catches for what did you say, 60 or 70,
mhm.
14-point PPR floor. That's his bread and butter. So I mean, I think he's just one of those guys that like you could grab basically in the last rounds of your draft and plug him in a flex pretty much every week. He's not sexy, he's not exciting, but he's consistent. So that's what his game is. I think he's a great investment. His return on your investment is probably going to be phenomenal. So
Yeah, and Pascal was 4 grabs, 43 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That was the
so
difference.
you're right. He was propped up
Uh,
by the touchdown. So
mhm.
tough call.
Yeah, no, definitely.
But you're right about Hamler. So like Denver, I mean, obviously Judy's out. Sutton didn't look like he was, it just kind of looked like he was
Not
still
ready.
nursing. Yeah. So who knows? I mean, the Hamler could be
That's
that
why.
guy.
That's why I love him for that, And he's got the speed to break. He might go 2 for 98 and a 75-yard touchdown, like Deshaun Jackson 2.0 type stat line. Like that's his potential, but he's total boomer bust. Like, yeah, he's not going to provide you a very safe floor, but man, his ceiling, love his ceiling.
Yeah. So I got one more question from Malcolm Merriweather off of Facebook here. He says, pick one,
Yeah,
Matt Ryan, Burrow, or Teddy Bridgewater. What do you think?
It's Burrow all the way this week.
totally Burrow easily.
Yeah.
Which means he's gonna suck.
Yeah.
But sorry, but it's gotta be Burrow. It's gotta be it.
As the game went along last week, and they they kind of slowed down towards the end and stopped letting them throw. They were trying to run too much, but obviously I watched the whole game in Minnesota. But once they started letting Burrow throw the ball a little bit, he really showed, and he's just going to connect more with Chase. Everybody got freaked out about his dropsies in the preseason, but whatever. I'd go with Burrow easily. There's not even the question this week, I don't think.
Faith coming in hot and roasting Maddie icy hot, I see. Roasting the poor guy. But yeah, that was scary to see what that offense did not do against, as I said, a pretty, from an Eagles defense standpoint, they shouldn't have been good. And I'm still, not totally convinced that wasn't kind of a fluke. But that's that Arthur Smith run, where he came from in Tennessee, like that's not off to a very good start. Let's just say that. So, I mean, the Eagles have one good player in probably their entire secondary, in Darius Slay, and they should have been able to. That's why I was starting Gage everywhere, because they should have been able to exploit, those weak other corners that the Eagles have, and just a big nothing out of that offense was. So you got Matty Ice is a wait and see guy. I mean, yeah, you might have him on your bench when he decides to blow up, but you can't trust him right now with that.
Then you'll play him the next week and he'll be terrible. Yeah.
Exactly. He's going to be that guy that you'll never guess right with. And then Teddy, again, just totally unsexy, totally not fun to play in your fantasy lineup. So yeah, maybe he does well, but you got to go with Burrow there.
Yeah, I don't. To be honest, with that lineup, I would, unless it's dynasty and you need the third quarterback. If it's a redraft league, I'd probably drop Teddy for a player to get on your bench.
Back.
Gotcha. So, Falcons have Buccaneers, and with how poorly the Falcons played against Philly, how do you think that game goes? Should I be afraid of my Calvin Ridley shares?
How did he do last year against them? I can't pull that up that quick. But do you have quick stats on you?
Let me see if I can.
I think to be honest, I don't ever bench Ridley in all reality.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Guys. Yeah, I wouldn't bench him. I don't care who he's playing, and it's a division rival, so there's just more intensity, I think. But
there's obvious cause for concern. Oh, you got the stats up?
Yeah. So last December 20th, 2020 was the last time these two have played, and it was 31 Bucks to 27 Falcons, which, I mean, there's still stat lines there. So like fantasy, fantasy-wise. Matt Ryan went 34 for 356 and 3 touchdowns. And Ridley had 10 receptions, 163 yards, and a touchdown.
And that's
which is a Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, that's what we
I was expecting last week. Yeah,
that's what we were expecting out. It's tough to compare to last year. I mean, Tampa Bay just had all those injuries in their secondary, but I'm looking at the line on the game is Bucks by 12.5, but with a strong over/under 51.5. So that could mean they're expecting the Falcons to be able to put up some points, and we saw they were having trouble stopping Dallas. So, but it's just really tough with what we saw last week. Again, they should have been able to keep up with the Eagles, and they were just putrid. So unless the play calling gets better and the play gets better, it's going to be really nerve-wracking. I mean, he should have a ton of targets, absolutely, but definitely cause for concern, but you can't bench it. Not yet.
No, there's no way that I'd bench him, but I'd still be,
kind of about it.
Yeah, hoping that they can piece together. I mean, they'd have to make some sort of a transition or a switch after last week and just not. I mean, the only thing that came out of that game was the picture of Matt Ryan on his face as his defensive line or offensive line just stared at him.
Yeah.
Man, I feel for the guy, but he's got to get it together, and hopefully, because even in this game, Russell Gage, he was 5 receptions, 68 yards, and 1 touchdown from last year. So hopefully they can put it together.
Yeah,
I think they'll be fine. I know Tampa is, everybody, they're Tampa, they obviously they won the Super Bowl, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know if their corners are that great, so I think that wide receivers can take advantage of them. I think it's all about pressure for them. If they're getting to the quarterback with their defensive line, their linebackers, but
their secondary is usually pretty great for IDP, that's for sure. But
they get some tickets.
I know our boy Sean loves Carlton Davis, and he's a very good corner. I just don't. They're not like those shutdown guys that blanket, the stats of the receivers. They make tackles and they make big plays, but they're not often shutting down anyone. So it should,
Cooper and Lamb. I mean, they beat them up last week. And they didn't run the ball either. And if Atlanta was smart, that's not Derrick Henry. Mike Davis is not Derrick. They should throw the ball.
Yeah. I mean, that over/under of 51.5 should tell us that, you should probably be trying to play as many pieces of both sides of those teams on offense that you have, and probably defense. There's probably going to be a lot of opportunities for big IDP plays as well. So, if Vegas is telling us anything, we should see a Calvin Ridley bounce back. Maybe you try to trust Russell Gage again if you haven't dropped him already, but I wouldn't recommend it. So
you don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. So we got another question here from Facebook from Ray Muller. Kind of a long one here. He is, hey, I'm stuck on my flex Devonta Smith, which I want to start, but I have Sutton against Jacksonville and Judy is out. Y'all's decision will be my final answer. I'm extremely tired of stressing about it.
Right.
It's week 2 and we're already pulling our hair out for working.
I know. I feel your pain, Ray. There's a lot of pressure, man. A lot of pressure. I think you're right in wanting to start Devonta Smith, especially with the goose egg Sutton put up. I know we told on our Start Sit show, we told someone to start Sutton over Tyson Williams. So that was horribly wrong. So this week, probably be the same thing. I'm going to lean with your gut and go with Devonta Smith over Sutton. And that means Sutton will probably blow up. So I'm trying to give myself the out here, the mushing out. But, Smith looks like he had that rapport still going with Hurts. So it's really tough to just ignore that and go with the guy that still seems like he's recovering injury. I know Jacksonville's D is pretty terrible still. But San Fran's they're a good fantasy defense, but I don't know that they have many. They don't really have shutdown corners. And our over under on the Eagles Niners game is 49.5. So I think for me, I'm gonna vote and go with your gut, Ray, and say DeVonta Smith. Yes.
Same. I don't have anything much to add to that other than I'd play. I want to see more from Sutton before I was dumb and I had him in my DFS lineups last week thinking Sutton was going to come out strong and that Teddy likes him.
For trying to predict game script, the over under on that game is only 45. I mean, I know that's only 4.5 point difference, but it's also Broncos -6, and Broncos D is looking good. That they were a bounce back defense. They could very well shut down Jacksonville, which means they're not going to need to pass very much. So unless something goes, for a bomb early on, especially if we think he's still kind of trying to recover, they might set him down early. So I just think the safer play and the higher ceiling line up with DeVonta Smith against the Niners. So
Denver's going to run. Denver, they have two really good running backs, two decent running backs. I don't know if I call Melvin any really good anymore. He looked good last week.
He broke one off last week.
Yep. So I think they're run, play defense, run, play defense. Don't just like when Minnesota had Teddy. They weren't letting him try to win a game with his arm. It was the same thing. Play defense.
Yeah. So we're going to circle back on something we were talking about earlier, but we got a good question here from Jason off of Periscope. Are Rams an early dark horse for the NFC rep in the Super Bowl?
Absolutely. I mean, their defense is still phenomenal. It's still one of probably a top 3 defense in the league, and they just majorly upgraded at quarterback. I mean, they made all the right moves to make a run this year. And I think not even a dark horse. They should be a favorite. I mean, who else in the NFC? I mean, Niners probably are going to bounce back. The Bucks. Yeah, they got to go through the Bucks, but I don't think even dark horse is enough of a respect to give them. I think they should be absolutely one of the favorites to come out of the NFC, in my opinion, with that defense.
I mean, it's probably Tampa Bay than the Rams. I mean, they're probably if the Packers look like they did last week every week, then which I'll laugh all day about. I have no problem watching them do that every week. But the reality is, once Rodgers gets going, that team is still going to be pretty good. And then one team that I would say if there's a dark horse, it's the Saints. Even with the guys, I mean, look how good they looked last week. With Winston in there. But no, I don't call them a dark horse. I'd call them a favorite. They're probably top 2, top 3.
So right now the week 2 power rankings, as put out by the Athletic, has the Rams right behind the Chiefs and the Bucks.
Okay,
that's how they looked.
So,
there we go. Not a dark horse anymore. They're coming out party.
Be happy.
Everybody took notice. They put the league on notice in week 1. So.
I mean, that would be a pretty good game for an NFC championship, the Rams and the Bucks.
Yeah.
That would be I really think that. So, okay, that game happens. Stafford wins. Does that put him in the conversation for the Hall of Fame?
I think he needs to win the Super Bowl, because has he been to the playoffs once, maybe? I'm not trying to be
no win.
Okay, 2 appearances, no wins. Got it. All right.
This is the Lions way.
Just making it to the Super Bowl with only 2 other playoff appearances, I don't think that does enough for him. And he's still got to build the statistical argument as well. I think he's still got a little more ways
he's got a pretty
to build on that. Is he still there already?
Career-wise, where's he at in the passing chart?
Because I've always felt like my argument for Hall of Fame, especially for quarterbacks, is just you have like 2 buckets. You have the statistical, just record holders everywhere, which I don't know that he's a record holding anywhere yet. That's the thing. Or
he just set a record on that game. He was the best quarterback to make a first appearance with a new team.
Okay, all right. Well, not those guys are records. I'm talking TDs, completions, yards, all that kind of stuff. You got to be like, if you don't have the postseason resume, you need that like top 5-ish resume in the major statistical categories to make it in at least first ballot.
He's 16
maybe
on the passing yards list.
Yeah, see, that's not high enough yet. But like I said, that's what I'm saying. He's only like 32, 33. We could still have a good 5, 7, 8 years out of him to build that argument for himself if he doesn't do anything in the postseason with the Rams. So it's usually one or the other. But he's still got plenty of time to build that.
He could
statistical.
Jump. Yeah, he might jump up to. So it goes at 12 is Moon with 49, Tarkenton 47, Carson Palmer at 46. Vinny Testaverde 46, and Stafford. Yeah. So
he's got plenty of time to get.
If he gets
up
one,
that.
I think you're right. I think if he gets one, that's.
If he wins a Super Bowl, wins it, not just gets there, I think that gives him a huge head start for the conversation for sure.
And I don't say, not that passing yards is the measurement, but that's I guess what you kind of look at, because all those guys on there, maybe not Roethlisberger and Eli, but even though Eli's won some, that's a big argument in itself, right?
So here.
What is Eli?
So Jason just you got Eli's stuff up.
Yeah.
Well, there it is, right there.
Stafford,
but that's what. Yeah. That's what I was talking about. Eli, unfortunately, kind of will probably get in because of that postseason resume, and that's what I'm saying. It seems like they look at one or the other. If you have this amazing postseason resume, took out the GOAT Tom Brady twice, and is good enough, top 20-ish in those major statistical categories, they're going to put you in. If he had lost those 2 Super Bowls, I don't think he gets in with the statistical resume, but people value that stuff way more than they should, to be honest. But he's got it. I mean, people look to the quarterback leaders. They give quarterbacks credit for wins and losses, postseason, regular season. So he'll get in. I don't think Clint, if you have it up, I don't know that he sniffs Stafford in most of the statistical categories. And
other than yards, he's at 57. Right. Eli's at 8. With 57.
Oh, okay.
So
that's better than I thought it was
for him. Yeah. But people, I don't know. I think at the end of his career, I think was what people were like, "Oh, he's terrible." He wasn't looking good. But I don't know.
And he played forever too. So
it's the same thing with Rivers. Do you put Rivers in?
That's a more interesting argument.
But he's number 6 or 5. Right
in just yards, though.
Yeah. I don't have touchdowns up or anything like that. I just have yards up.
Because it's got to be a little bit of sprinkling of all that stuff. Because if you play forever, Philip Rivers and Frank Gore are like the ultimate
Gore's
on the same wavelength. I think you do just for being able to play as long as he did at that position, but if you play forever, you're gonna do what Favre did and have all the statistical categories. So it's a fun argument to have. I play both sides sometimes. I don't really take a hard stance either way. I mean, I don't know. I just don't care enough, I guess.
So, Calvin Johnson, that conversation was going on a lot after he retired. Would he be a first ballot Hall of Famer? And he ended up becoming a first, all of that. So at some points, I wonder if we overanalyze, because they,
100%.
The Hall of Fame, they want to make that splash. They want to, Calvin Johnson was an amazing player. They get to put up all, we're talking about all of his film for, the year and all that kind of stuff. And I feel like that makes it easier for someone like Stafford to get in. But you also got to figure Stafford could still play for 5 or 6 years. And all of those stats, are just going to keep increasing. So he could make it on stats alone if the Rams can't put it together. If there's always heartbreak with, I'm used to it as a Lions fan, so I'm kind of expecting it now that I'm watching the Rams. Something's going to happen. He's going to get hurt, or someone key is going to get hurt, and it's just going to be like, man, so this isn't the year. Because if you go back to those playoff runs, they weren't runs, but the regular season runs that got into the playoffs,
Right.
You know, like what was it, 2016? He had 8 wins, 8 8 drives to win a game within the last like minute of the game.
Mm.
And it was the most of,
Yeah.
you know, it was the NFL record or whatever. And so there was a lot of hype for that year, and they went and they played Dallas, and that was the no call, the PI no call that turned the game.
Ooh, boy.
You know, and this is what it's like being a Lions fan. There's if you
Yeah.
really want to get into your you know, tinfoil hat and go down the rabbit holes and stuff, like there's a lot of crazy stuff when you start looking at the Lions games and what's kept us from winning for so long.
You don't have to tell a Vikings fan that. There's
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
when you're
And
talking about that first script earlier in the night here, when you were talking about that first script play, it always reminds me of the NFC Championship game against the Eagles, how the Vikings marched down there, and it looked like they knew everything that was going on, and they just walked into the end zone against Philly, and then the rest of the game was just trash. It's like,
Complete meltdown.
Yeah.
One of my favorite games that I've ever watched was the Lions versus Philly. I think it was the Thanksgiving game, the snowball.
Snowball, yeah.
That was just amazing. Just and the Lions pulling that off with Calvin Johnson, like catching a touchdown pass when it was, you couldn't see anything. You couldn't see, you know, feet in front of your face. And here he is, like, yeah, that was amazing.
I'm so mad. A buddy of mine offered me tickets to that game because they were looking at the weather, and you know, we're like, yeah, probably not gonna. And I was looking at the weather, so I declined, and I'm kicking myself. And they actually ended up going, and they're like, yeah, it was fun. It was awesome. So I'm like, God damn it.
I bet. Oh man. So okay, you guys, let's kind of go into this. What's the best game you've ever been to?
Vikings, when Favre, the first year Favre was with the Vikings, my sister and I were at when he threw that Hail Mary against the Niners. It was like the first game of the year, I think, when he got Greg Lewis in the back of the end zone on the, you know, the 45, 50-yard touchdown or whatever it was. They had been trailing most of the game, and all the people were leaving, and I'm like, there's still a drive left. Like, you're talking about Brett Favre here, and then he did it. You know, he threw that, and then their season rolled. Another season ending where the Vikings were like, what happened? You know, that Saints game, and they turned the ball 6 times, and they were still only lost by a field goal. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, my sister and I were at that. It was fun.
Most Eagles games as of recently that I've been to have just been regular season, like nothing too crazy, and we're usually tailgating, and so nothing that I maybe remember very clearly. But I was unfortunately at, I want to say it was either 2002 or 2003 NFC Championship when they blew it to the Panthers. So although it didn't end up in our favor, that was probably like the coolest or like best game. But I remember them missing the tackle on whoever the running back was at the time. It was either like Williams or Stewart or one of those guys just bowled over one of our top linebackers for an easy touchdown. I was like, oh man. It might have been Foster, actually, now that I think about it. So, but that was really, I was pretty young then, like either in high school or finishing high school, and it was my first like big game I ever got to go to. So I always remember that one because it's just a cool experience despite them blowing it.
Yeah, nice. I've actually only been to a couple NFL games, so because I'm a more recent fan, and I also live very far, like kind of far away. Well, no, New York's like 2 hours. I don't know. Foxborough might be closer to 3, but neither of those are my teams, and like I don't know. But I've done 2 Lions games. The first one was right after they got rid of Jason Hanson, but before they got
legend
Matt
Prater. Yeah, okay.
Love Prater.
He was great.
Yeah. So there was a period of about 5 games where they were testing out different kickers, and every one of them sucked. Right before Prater finished his suspension and got kicked off the Denver. And so that first game I went to was Nate Freeze he had 5 field goal opportunities and missed every single one of them. And we lost by maybe a couple field goals. Like if he had connected on 2 of those, it would have been a really close game. And the former coach, Jim Shorts, got carried off the field by his players. And it was just terrible. Like, hated it. I also had really shitty seats. They were up actually between the uprights that Freeze was kicking at. So I'm just watching the ball come up and then go to the side.
Like, nope, no good.
Yeah. But the absolute best experience I've ever had, football related at all, was myself and Johnny the Greek. He's my, one of my best. He's one of my best friends. We were living together as roommates, and we took the trip from out here to go to the Lions Browns game before they drafted Baker. When who was Tyrod Taylor was there, and then there was someone else. Either way, the Lions ended up winning, but we were on the 50-yard line, first row, right behind the Browns bench, and our whole section was making fun of Kenny Britt the whole game. And so, I don't know who started or how it started, but the section started yelling out Kenny's name, and it caught his attention, and he had one of those personalities where he's barking back and doing all of that, and he just points at us and he says, "Watch this," and he goes out, and this was Kenny Britt had a 60-yard touchdown.
Oh boy!
They were on like the 30, and he got like a long bomb, caught it, ran it in. And he comes back to the our section, and he's just like, "What now? What now?" And someone yells, "Do it again!" And he was benched the entire rest of the game. So we were just catcalling him the whole time, and it was an amazing experience. And being that close to the game, like I got pictures where it's like I have to tell people this isn't zoomed in, this is all the way zoomed out, so I could get like a good picture and everything. So, but yeah, no, that was my favorite game. I'm hoping to get to more, but Calvin and Hobby, he says that his favorite game was Saints Falcons. First came back in the dome after Katrina.
Oh, that atmosphere
would be cool.
Electric.
And then we've got Jason here with Eagles beat the Cowboys 44-6 in Week 17 to clinch a miraculous playoff berth in 2008.
Yeah, I remember that. Wow, that must have been awesome.
Absolutely. Good
stuff. That's the way to do it that you did it, Nate, on the close-up 50-yard line, because I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but going to watch football live in person, sometimes not as great as it's cracked up to be, especially depending when you're going and where you live. Like I've been to some Philly games in the December, January, and it is not fun. I would much rather be watching comfortably on my television. And man, it just seems like it crawls in person with all the stoppages and stuff. It's like it just feels faster watching on TV. So like obviously down to tailgate all the time, and if you have good seats, it's awesome. But if you're up there in the nosebleeds with the ruffians and whatnot, like it could be sometimes not as great of a time as it's supposed to be.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I enjoyed it as an experience, but like being able to see everything, even at the 50-yard line, it's like you're trying to figure it out, like what's going on.
Right.
You obviously when people start cheering and you're looking, but it's more of like it's a different experience. You're going there for a different type of good time, a different type of experience.
I guess I'm thinking more of those like season ticket holders that show up every game. Like, oh, how do you do that?
Yeah, and I feel like you'd have to just be zeroed in on just your team. They don't
play fantasy football.
Right, yeah. Good call. Yes, definitely don't play fantasy, those people.
Yeah. So, and I could get that. I could get behind that, especially if you get
the
decent
traffic.
seats where you're up a little bit and everything, and you can see a little more. Because we were debating between box seats or the 50-yard line, like right up front, and we went for that experience of like.
If you have the chance to do that, you got to do it.
Yeah,
that close and that angle. Yeah, you got to do that at least once. Then go box the rest of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we were looking at like, oh, they bring like food and stuff right to you, and which is great and it's cool. But yeah, just wanted that. It's almost like in the trenches.
Absolutely.
Like right experience. And then Jason chimes in with Philly Sports Complex traffic post game is a nightmare.
That's what I mean.
Steve, I'm with you.
I just want to go home, and it takes like 2 hours.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but yeah, so what are you guys looking at? We've had the first week. I know we're all in just a ton of leagues, but like, where are you sitting? Did you guys have bad beats? Did you guys have some awesome wins? What's it look like for your fantasy teams right now?
I didn't start very hot. Got beaten Scott Fishbowl because a couple duds. Won a couple of my redraft leagues, 2 of my dynasty leagues, I think, but I took some L's this week. Just because I try to keep things a little similar in some leagues, just so I'm not fighting myself each week and things like that. But man, those duds, some of those duds hurt hard. Just Ridley. Like he didn't help anywhere, but
basically all my Russell Gage leagues I lost. I had a couple Darren Wallers who saved me. My home league, shout out Dre. I was down by a little under like 25 or 26 points, and we do an extra bonus for 100-yard game, and that just pushed me over to squeak out the win. I wasn't expecting to win. He thought he won. And I just kept watching. Oh, and it was so frustrating watching that game, especially the first half. They were trying to get Waller the ball like crazy. At one point he had 7 targets with only 1 catch, and I was just pulling my hair out, going nuts. I'm like, if he was just catching these, I could maybe have a chance to win. But then second half, he finally started catching all of the targets, scored, got over 100 yards, bailed me out of a couple games. So those were my best wins. And then and a couple dynasty huge roster leagues kind of went 50-50. But and no real bad beat, I wouldn't say, but just lots of like low scoring L's thanks to guys like Russell Gage and those characters. Saquon not helping me out 2 weeks in a row now. So
I have a lot of I've already started not great. I have 2 leagues. I think I have Saquon and Gibson as a combo, and that didn't help. But last week I have 3 leagues that I have the Dak Cooper combo. I might have only won one of them. Like you get so excited, like, I just started the week on a 70.9, and then you lose. Rough. That's my Scott Fishbowl league. That team that I have Dak and Cooper, I think, in that, and you just poop.
Dude, this just goes to show my mushing abilities. Last night during the game, kind of because even leading up to this season, I've been a big Antonio Gibson guy, kind of predicting a bigger breakout than he even had last year. And the narrative the whole season for the anti-Gibson guys has been J.D. McKissic, caught 80 balls, blah blah blah. I was like, well, they had a terrible quarterback room. They kind of upgraded there, so I didn't expect McKissic in week 1 taking my victory lap. I'm like, he had like 1 target. I'm like, so I did the Twitter trend of guys being like, remember so and so from like 10 years ago. So I popped out, trying to pop off. I was like, remember J.D. McKissic? And no less than 10, 20 minutes later, he's in the game catching 1 billion passes, and then of course finishes the game. I know he's the 2-minute guy, but man, Gibson, just play the better players. I don't understand what these coaches play the best player. Gibson is the better player than McKissic. Like, I don't care.
I have this.
I'm a mush master over here. So whatever I say, anybody that's actually listening, probably just do the opposite.
We have this league, and my neighbor across the street started it. Hey Bo, if you're listening. Anyway, there's 18 of us, and so we each bring a bottle of alcohol, bottle of bourbon, whiskey, whatever, to the
That's
table.
awesome.
And it's a DFS style. So each week you get, set
Ooh.
whatever lineup you want. We do it on Yahoo. The first place finisher picks what bottle of bourbon they want after they win, and the last place finisher has to go deliver it to them. But anyway, this guy this week,
Love that.
somebody already had McKissick, and I'm like, who would have chose him after
So
the week he had
annoying.
last week in a 1 week league? He did it. There he is, 17 points already.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah,
Rather
I've got
be
Gibson
lucky
in one
than
of my
good.
leagues. Yeah, I was not happy. It was fun watching with the Giants fans. It was not fun thinking about they were like, come on, give it to Gibson. What's going on here? And seeing McKissick, which I think I've got stashed on a bench somewhere.
Well, good fantasy players were not starting him. So yes, you McKissick starters, rather be lucky than good, right? Shots fired.
You probably still won't start him next week. It's just one of those guys. You're like, unless you have to.
Your team was so bad that you had to start JD McKissick this week. So congratulations.
Yeah, exactly. So going on my home league last week, I put up the second highest score in my league.
Nice.
And I played Johnny, who put up the first highest score in the league.
Always works.
And so I would count that as my bad beat because I was looking good. I thought I'd actually beat him, and then he just we both outperformed. We were like just scoring like crazy, and I beat everyone else in the league, but I had to be playing him. So,
here, let's talk some. We can segue to some fantasy commish stuff. I started a dynasty league where we play a second game against the averages. So I love trying to incorporate that. I know it's tough to probably pass that through your home league. Probably a lot of old school people that aren't super open to that kind of stuff. But man, it just kind of makes sense. Like, why would you be against it? At least you sort of hedge yourself with weeks like that. When you have an awesome week, but somebody barely has a more awesome week, like you shouldn't totally be penalized for that almost. And then you've got guys scoring half as many points as you. Like, it just stinks. It would just be more fun if you at least say, hey, I went 1-1 this week instead of 0-1. So huge commish opportunity there to try to push your leagues to play that second game against the league scoring average, so that you don't take 100% L's on weeks like that. Or Nate, would you have won if it was best ball? Gotta jab you there. Oh.
This is what's fun is because Steve comes up with all these very interesting different things, like commish things,
rule stuff. Yeah
And I'm a little more old school. Like, I mean, I like best ball, but it has its place. And let me see, what would I don't think best ball would have helped me at all.
All right, fair enough.
My flex was DJ Moore with 16 points, and Tyler Higbee had 11, just almost 12. That was the only guy on my bench that. And then I had Trey Sermon and Will Fuller, which I took that chance on Will Fuller. Do you think he's even going to pan out? He's already he's out for this week, right?
They said he wasn't even sure if he's coming back at all this year. I wonder what happened.
Yeah,
I saw a tweet about that. I don't know if it's somebody just going for clout or not, but it seemed like a reputable person. I don't remember who it was, but they're like, don't be surprised if Will Fuller doesn't play a game this year. It sounds like it might be like a personal situation or something going on, but man,
I'd hold on to him for now until you know.
Yeah, you have to without concrete information. But you know what? I'm trying to go trade for Jalen Waddle anywhere I can, and probably overpay for him if you can. Like,
even Parker looked good.
Yeah, surprisingly. I thought
Yeah.
Gilmore was going to shut Parker down, but yeah, I'm trying to get Waddle from people with this Fuller situation.
I was able to get
Yeah.
Waddle in a couple dynasty leagues, which was nice. I
Right.
haven't put away, but I have him in one redraft, I think.
Sweet.
Yeah. So going back onto the best balls comment there, looking at Johnny's roster,
Yeah.
he would have blown me out by a lot more because
Oh, all right.
he had
Well,
Swift, Fant, and Landry on the bench, and
okay.
had Juju Smith-Schuster, Chris Carson, and Mark Andrews in his lineup.
Well, that
So-
doesn't bode well for my argument then.
No, not at all.
Although the best team would win, so
Yeah.
I get it. Listen, I get it. I'm gonna push for it just because I think it's a great format, and more so for especially if you're trying to get newer people into it, who maybe won't get as frustrated with missing starting a good player who goes off on their bench, or even just keeping up with the league in general and not abandoning the team. That's one of my other major arguments for it. If you're trying to bring and introduce to newer people, I think best ball is a great way to do that. To even just if somebody loses interest, at least the team is getting the optimal lineups and keeping the league competitive. That would be one of my other arguments.
Yeah. So in one of the newer leagues that I got into this year. So if people didn't know, I was part of the Scott Fishbowl Avi Makers. So it's a group of designers that for
Awesome
charity
stuff.
do the Avies for Twitter and for MFL for it was like $10 and all of that goes to charity. Yeah. So after all that was said and done and over, we all wanted to kind of keep the energy, that we had from doing that. So one of the guys, Mark, he set up a redraft league, and it's now called the Designer Bowl. And this year we decided to make it best ball, but with trading and team management and all that stuff. It's literally just best ball for setting lineups.
Yeah,
and
that's all I champion for too. I want trading and pickups and all that.
Yeah, and it's interesting, and I like it for those when you get into the 15th to 20th team, and you're just like, holy crap, how am I going to set all these lineups? It makes sense. For a home league, those kind of things where like really matters. Like we paid whatever $25 for dues, and so there is like a cash prize and all that stuff, but I really don't care if I win this thing. Like it's just a matter of like it keeps us interacting, it keeps us like a team, so that next year when the SFB comes back around, like we're set up and we're still a tight-knit group and we don't have to start from square one again. I like it. It's pretty cool in this format and being able to do that. So I would say that there's a time and place for everything, but that's it's a I get it. I get it.
I always post the link to my article on like people's Twitter threads and stuff, and the main argument is for like I'm talking about we're in this like niche like with IDP and Dynasty with these humongous rosters usually, whether it's offense only or does include IDP, and you just got 20, 30, 40, 53 man rosters. How can you? I don't know. I have a hard time thinking anybody's that good at predicting their start-sit matchups that it makes a difference. Like, I feel like it would just be more fun to incorporate best ball, just scoring. I still want trades. I still want waivers, all that stuff. But just the scoring and have the best team win. That's ultimately my argument for these, like, gigantic roster leagues.
Yeah. So speaking on that, there's actually, I saw this on Twitter where someone had the IDP portion best ball and the offense not best ball. So you start the offense. Cool. And
I like that.
I'd be all about that.
That was an interesting twist.
Yeah, I like that a lot, especially again for newer people trying IDP. Let them have their best players. They took some guy, that rookie for the Giants that had a sack, Ojulari. I've heard of this guy, but they're probably not going to start him. But hey, he probably did better than DeMarcus Lawrence or something, and give him the credit for the guy they picked.
Well, you could also drastically increase the amount of defensive players you draft. You could have 5-6 extra rounds. Just because then those random dudes that are out there getting Michael Pierce from Minnesota got 2 sacks last week. How many guys are teeter-tottering whether you actually play him or not. But.
And we know IDP, it's incredibly inconsistent, especially for those defensive line positions, even linebackers, secondary. It's wildly hard to predict because of all those big impact plays that we give scoring to. So that's honestly an amazing idea. Give the credit for when those guys go off. It's so offense, I feel like we have a little bit better idea and understanding and ability to potentially predict game scripts and stuff, but on the defensive independent player side of that ball, it's nearly impossible to go through the matchups and say I know that this quarterback's going to get an interception for a touchdown this week. No, nobody knows that. So, but if they do, give them the credit for it. Why not? He's on your team.
Yeah, another one I got in this year was it's an all flex league. Just offensive players, but you can only play 2 QBs. You can't go out and play 4 quarterbacks, but the rest you just play whatever you want.
Yeah.
It was cool. I mean, it's nice because you're like, oh man, my roster is loaded, or it looks like it's loaded, but then everybody else is the same way.
Yeah.
I think I just heard about that this year. I think that's a really cool idea. I want to try one next year.
Yeah, so I set up another league. It's the IDP Guys Bragging Rights League that just kind of last minute put together, and it's not an all flex, but it's definitely the most amount of flexes I've ever played with. So it's standard 1 QB, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and a tight end. But then it's super flex and 4 flexes.
Oh, sweet.
4 WRT flexes.
Love that.
So this was the most difficult draft that I've done, because then it was also fully expanded IDP. So it was 22 starters. And you've got 2 defensive tackles, 2 defensive ends, 2 corners, 2 safeties, and then 3 defensive flex. So we did that draft, and it was the most challenging. And this comes from someone who does mock drafts. How many mock drafts we do a month. I'm involved in a lot of those, not as many as some of the other guys, but I've got to say I've done 200 mocks this off season. And to go into this one and just be like, holy crap, there's not really a strategy here. It's just so wide open of
ADP is out the window.
Yeah. I felt like I was trying to fill starters on my offense while all these great IDP, players were going off the board. And I'm feeling now I need to switch over to defense, but I've still got 4 flex spots that I have to fill. I need, it was it was just challenging. I wouldn't say overwhelming. I got through it and I did it, and I got a decent team. I beat Grant last week.
Nice.
Was that Yahoo one that you did on a Monday night?
Yeah.
I think we're all in that, right?
So bad, but I couldn't draft Monday night for whatever reason. We had something going. I think our son was starting soccer or something. He does soccer on Monday nights right now, and I just I couldn't put my time into it like I wanted to. Seeing that how deep the rosters were, I'm like, man, I would hate to auto draft that and not do well.
Yeah, that was the one thing. I just didn't want anyone to come in and auto draft. Because
that's why I didn't do it. I'm like, I can't commit to it. Yeah.
For the defense on Yahoo, you would have just complete nobodies. It's so weird, their rankings with that.
Guys that aren't playing this year.
Nate, you and me took out the Gillians. I took out Keith, I think. I think that's
nice.
Keith. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I see you there. I'm actually one spot ahead of you just because of my score.
Nice.
But yeah, let me look at your team real quick. Let's take a look at
I
this.
who went off for it? I don't. Oh, I had the Thursday night wide receivers did real good for me. So I Godwin, Antonio Brown, and CeeDee
Mhm.
Lamb. Hawkinson went
Jeez.
nuts. I was forced to play Jamal Williams, so garbage time, baby.
I think you can play
Yeah.
him every week with Swift. If you have both those
Probably.
guys, yeah,
It
you can
Mhm.
play them
seems
both.
like that's the way it's going, right? Um, so, and on the defensive side, Anthony Walker did real good for me, but he, of course, shifted to IR, so that stunk. I was all over
Yeah.
the place. Oh, Logan Ryan carried me for defense, too. Oh, and I had my boy Stafford. He scored just under 40 points in the super flex spot.
Can you
So
trade him to Nate?
I had a lot of, but I also had Gage. I had a couple zeros on defense, so it was
Mhm.
it was a big zigzag.
Yeah, those 3 flex positions right there. Callaway, Gage, and Tyrell Williams.
Yeah, three
That's and
combined 6 points roughly, or not
yeah,
great.
right around there. So, but yeah, the other part of your offense was looking good here. 351 is total score. That's not terrible. And so
Yeah,
then on top of it, like the scoring for this is pretty crazy.
yeah,
That we set up. It's very much so this is a new thought process that I have for IDP scoring is I like turnover plays to be
oh yeah,
extremely
yeah. Those
well,
big impact plays.
and so interceptions, um fumble recoveries, those things are essentially like touchdown plays in my opinion. And I think
Nice.
that's that's and so there's still a solid floor of 2 points per tackle. So your tackle monsters are
Mm,
still up there, but then it's almost like getting into big play scoring where your sacks and interceptions are just so much more. Let's look at Anthony Walker. Nope, not him because he just had tackles. Let's look at Logan Ryan. So,
yeah, yeah.
um, 8 tackles for 16 points, and then he forced a fumble, recovered
And
it.
recovered it. Yeah.
So that was 9
It's a big
points
time.
right there. And then the
Do you get
tackle
more
for a
points
loss
for
at
a
1.
forced fumble? Do you get more points for forced fumbles than fumbled recovery?
Less.
So the forced fumble is 3. So
Okay.
anyone can force it.
Right.
And which is a good play. It's more than a tackle.
Hmm.
Hmm.
But then the guy that scoops it up because
Right.
now it's changed possession, that
Hmm.
becomes a 6-point play. So being able to do both of them together just
Right. It's a
creates
winner.
this insane, that's a and I feel like a 9 or a 10-point play for you being able to come in and change the direction of the ball
Hmm.
is, that makes sense to me.
Or a strip
So,
sack. Like that's huge. And then
yeah.
you
Oh yeah.
recover the ball. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and
That's what I feel like. Some
mhm,
people could get scared off from scoring like that, but don't really. Like it makes it more fun. It bounces out. You don't you don't have the same opportunities on defense outside of tackles. You want to create a decent scoring floor with tackles. But those other plays are what makes defense exciting. So you should
yeah.
reward them. I'm in this one league where it was a real like Jekyll and Hyde emotional situation. We voted to get rid of kickers. Fantastic. Loved that decision.
Don't tell some people that.
Decided to replace it with, I know, we decided to replace it with an IDP, a single IDP, which is like, you know what, I'll take it. Everybody's new to it. But the scoring is just so boring. Like, they don't even score as much as kickers. They score like
Mhm.
2 to 4 or 5 points a game. And it's so frustrating because it's just not fun. I'd rather
Yeah.
bring the kickers back at this point,
Yeah.
almost. Like, just make the scoring so it makes it fun. Like it doesn't need to be, so that all defensive players are the top scorers. You can meet somewhere in the middle, but to devalue defensive scoring
Mhm.
just because you're like, well, a touchdown's worth 6. How can an interception be worth 6? Well, because it's a very important play. So
Yeah.
just don't be to anybody that might be watching this like dipping the toe in the IDP. Don't be scared of aggressive scoring settings like that. It'll just make it more fun and make it a best ball league.
But how sweet
For
is it
defense.
that
For just defense.
you can turn a game on Sunday and root for an individual defensive player. You know what I mean? Like
so much fun.
You're not bored at all. You never get bored during the game. You always get more mad during the game, but
I think this even so as IDP people, we have our favorite players on defense, the guys that we're just like gung ho on. When I went to the Fantasy Expo in Canton, Ohio, and I went to the Hall of Fame, I wanted a Myles Garrett jersey.
Yeah.
Guess what they did not have at the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, of course, right?
They had a Baker Mayfield and an OBJ.
And
it's like
gross.
Those, you know, and I was thinking about it, and I was like, I can understand it because those are the two biggest names, and it's the Hall of Fame, so they have to have jerseys for all 32 teams. So like they only have so much room. They can't. I just thought like, oh, they must just have like, you know, almost every player or something, you know, for every team. And it's because they do have a very big room, like couple rooms of just all the merchandise and everything. But I was going there, and I ended up going to a Dick's in Canton to pick it up. You know, which worked out because they only had Browns gear. But it's like from our perspectives, like we really like these players, and they're not as common for non-IDP players to like, you know. A Darius Leonard, I got a Darius Leonard signed jersey for what felt like peanuts compared to like trying to get a like a Calvin Ridley jersey.
Offense sells.
Biddy showing up here. Are you sure they weren't just sold out because he's their best player?
Good point.
Good point.
Oh, can we talk about buying football jerseys in general for a second? I don't know why anybody buys any current player's football jersey. It is just a money pit. The players get cut, traded, leave. Like it's.
Well, now they changed their number to a single digit number or something.
That's killing me. And some of these guys are like, what? Who? But man, it used to. Quarterbacks seem like the safest, but I was buying Wentz jerseys and he didn't make it 4 years hardly. Like it's just so ridiculous. Just wait and buy guys once they retire. Buy the throwbacks. Like that would be my advice. I don't know why people buy anybody current because it just changes so frequently. It's crazy.
I can understand it. I like being able to buy a jersey and wear it. And I don't necessarily have to have it be my team. So like I got a Mahomes jersey. I happen to win in a contest. I've got a Myles Garrett. I've got a Golden Tate. I got a Golden Tate back when he was still on the Lions. Oh no.
Where'd he go?
We lost
he hit the wrong button.
Yeah, he probably hit the wrong button there. But yeah, I've got a Golden Tate. I've got a few. Oh, and then I went and I got a Joey Harrington.
Oh, sure.
For days when I just feel depressed about the Lions. Here we go. Steve's back.
What the hell happened there?
I don't know. I think you clicked something.
Yeah.
The Wendy's you had.
Yeah. Oh man, sorry about that.
Yeah, so I was just telling Clinton about the different jerseys I have, and one of them is an old Joey Harrington jersey that I wear on days that I just feel depressed about the Lions.
Oh boy, that guy.
So, but what gets me is the price. Oh, and I've got a Calvin Johnson jersey that I bought. Like,
you don't have an Orlovsky jersey, do you?
No, I do not, but it could happen.
See, that's funny. The Harrington is an interesting situation. Like that was a horrible jersey when he was there, but now it's like funny to think about, and like, it's like an ironic jersey almost to be wearing. Like I would, if I saw somebody rocking a Harrington jersey, like that's a cool, fun person. Like now, back then, it'd be like, oh, you're an idiot. But now you're a cool, fun person.
Well, it's like Sean has Joey Harrington as his
I love that.
Twitter profile image. And that I think kind of was the cue for me thinking about it and to go and do it. And I got it for like $10 on Amazon.
Beautiful.
Like it was one of the old like Reebok jerseys.
Oh, they were so awesome.
Yeah, and so I bring it out every so often. But I like having the jerseys and wearing them, and I don't really care too much about if things change. Like I wore the Golden Tate jersey last year. And he wasn't on the Lions, and I'd wear it this year. He was one of my I got a picture of me high-fiving him at the Lions training camp. Like one of the coolest like football experiences I've had. So yeah, I don't know. What gets me is you spend $100 on a jersey now and they're printed.
That's what I'm saying. The quality stinks and your player could be gone.
Yeah, because I got a Calvin Johnson jersey way back going into the game with Nate Freeze. So I was there and I was like, I need to get a jersey to go to this game with, and Calvin Johnson was still a player. So I paid I think $120 and it was stitched on.
Yeah.
It was a game a game.
Yeah, good
and
quality.
Now when you go to Fanatics, they're printed, like screen printed, and you have to pay $300. I think it was $350 for a sewn jersey, and I'm just like, that is, I couldn't
racket.
I couldn't spend that much and then wear it. And I want to be able to wear these. Like, obviously, the Calvin Johnson one, I don't wear it all now. Last time I did, I might have gotten some salsa on it. And my wife always gives me shit about it. So I got to get it clean, and then I'm framing it, essentially. And maybe get like see if I can't find like a Calvin Johnson signature card or something somewhere to put in that frame. But I don't know. I feel better. Like I was looking at getting a Stafford Rams jersey, and I'm just like, I don't mind spending the $100. I want to wear this, and but I'm like, I don't like that it's printed, because then people are gonna be like, why did you spend $100 on a knockoff? Like it's not a knockoff, but it's not a game jersey.
Right. Yeah, so. It's ridiculous.
But so Andrew here is asking, is there a story behind the Dynasty Santa moniker?
I want to know.
An origin story. Yeah, sure. It's not like super interesting. It was really just, so I think 2014, 15, my buddy and my roommate at the time, shout out to him, we would always usually be out drinking Saturday night and then watching football together hungover Sunday. So the way his couch was set up and we would sit, I was just at the corner and he was on the other side, and just hungover Sunday morning watching football, fell asleep, and like my head was back like Homer Simpson style. So he snaps the picture because it was very funny, and then does like a little cheap Photoshop on his phone, because it must have been around probably Christmas time, of like me in a Santa hat and a Santa shirt. Just, I don't know. It was him that decided to do that. It was just really funny because it was like such a bad, good Photoshop job. And I've just always like used that picture as like being funny, and like, so it's sort of my like logo, I guess you would call it. So when I decided to start, trying to do this like Twitter fantasy football thing, I was like, well, you got to try to stand out somehow. So I was like, going to use the picture, going to try to niche myself out in the Dynasty fantasy market. So it just came together as Dynasty Santa. And yeah, like I said, not anything super interesting or exciting, but just a goofy hungover photo that my buddy did.
That's amazing.
It just rolled with it.
Yeah, because that's really what I like. When I think of you, I think of Dynasty Santa. Like you catch me, like I'll say that before I'm like, Steve, like I didn't even know your name for the longest.
Yeah, that's why I added that to Twitter not too long ago, because I'm like, it seems like that's the route that people are going. Like, just use your real name in the name, but whatever your ad is whatever it used to be. So yeah,
Mhm.
I don't know. It's like it's goofy. That's the kind of person I usually am. I'm very self-deprecating. I love to laugh at myself. So I was like, yeah, this is a pretty embarrassing, funny picture. Like, just gonna go ahead and rock with it.
Steve is dead. Long live Dynasty Santa.
Facts.
There
Let's
it is.
go. Ho ho
But,
ho.
oh man, so yeah, yeah, jerseys. We went into this. We didn't have Hollywood. We didn't have Joey, and it was just like, we'll do an hour. We'll get through it and
Yeah.
just see how the conversation goes. Here we are, getting close to 2 hours, and I feel like we have to complete it. We gotta fill that last 20 minutes and just be able to go back to them and say, hey, I'm sorry we didn't need you. We
Yeah.
did it.
That's the style of the show, right? I mean, that just proves out that you can just swap in and out. And it's still going to be like a half of a Joe Rogan podcast.
Right.
I have a kind of a someone to talk about that.
Yeah.
See what your
Yeah,
guys'
yeah.
thoughts are. Somebody that I'm not as high on as everybody else. I think he's made a splash obviously in the last 2 years, and I've ranked him a little lower than most, and I get a lot of flack from the Bills fans. But what happened to Josh
Mm.
Allen last week was it? They say that it's just because he doesn't play well against the Steelers, or something like that. The Steelers defense, but man, he threw the ball like over 50 times and finished with like 260 or something like that. And that he was going into the season getting drafted the second, third quarterback in both dynasty and redraft leagues. So I
Mhm.
don't. I'm gonna do. Are you guys concerned about him? Are you gonna keep him up on the pedestal or see what he does? Or
It's tough because he's got that rushing floor ability still with him, but from the passing standpoint, and I saw a couple sharp accounts saying, don't be surprised if you see regression
Mhm.
from Josh Allen from a passing standpoint. So yeah, I know for my dynasty rankings, I had him maybe like somewhere between 3 and 5. I know I started off Mahomes, and I actually had Dak
Yep,
as my
me
second,
too.
and I and
Always
I
number two. Yep.
weathered through the storm of the hard knocks and him not playing really in preseason. I was like, I'm not going to drop him. I'm not going to drop him.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think I started off after, from some pretty good opinions out there saying, don't be surprised if you see some regression. So it's tough to drop him too far just because he's got that rushing for it. But yeah, I don't think I have a single share of Josh Allen between my dynasty or redraft leagues heading into this year, because I knew the price was going to
He's too high
outweigh
for me.
what he was probably going to return for you at that investment. And I'm always a punt on QB guy to begin with anyway. So that's why I don't have any of him, and I'm not terribly concerned about not having any of them.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it was one of those things where I'm hopeful that things get figured out. I think that the Steelers, they do have a good defense,
Yeah,
and
they do. Yeah.
with a good
For
game
sure.
plan to cut him down and not allow him to run as much. I
Mhm.
think you'd have to go in to that. If you've got the ability to do that, you're going to see it come out, and Allen will lose that rushing ability. And you just say, you can beat us through the air, like,
Yep.
and offer that.
Force
And
him.
that's, it looks like what they kind of went with, that mentality, and he just couldn't.
Mhm. And they just shut him
Apparently,
down.
yeah, go that route.
Right,
So
because they can't run the ball with their running backs.
Yeah.
yeah,
I want
um,
Zach Moss to be a thing so bad, but I don't think
He
he's
might be
going
this week.
to.
Right, and against the
and so
Dolphins. Yeah.
yeah, so I think that in the end it'll probably balance out. I would say that I traded for him early in
Okay.
the off season. It was a decent trade. Like, I don't feel bad about it right now.
Mhm.
And it was something, I can't even remember what I traded away and what I got, but I think it was picks, which wasn't like super terrible. And I don't know. I think that it'll work out. I think that it's
Hopefully.
the beginning of the season, and there's a lot of these things that kind of come up. Usually around week 3, everything, the law of averages
Yep.
just works out, and the guys that are gonna bounce back or are bounced back, and that's when we start having the conversations of like, okay, things aren't working. Maybe we need to take another look at this player. So,
and it's not even.
Mm-hmm.
It's just about the game, almost like game theory more than anything. Like guys go up and down. Like drafting, we saw it with Lamar Jackson. We even saw it with Mahomes. Like we see these monstrous seasons, and then everyone thinks that's going to occur again, and it just doesn't. So putting the investment into them at thinking they're going to do that again is just not smart gameplay. If somehow he had become a value, sure, I would want him, but that of course didn't happen in hardly any league. So like that's just how you got to think about it. You got to try to nail the guys that are coming up, and the guys that are up here, let somebody else take them because they won people leagues last year. The odds, just purely from an odds standpoint, that they're going to do that again are low to none. So it's more the game theory than anything. Listen, I want the Bills to be awesome. It's fun when the Bills are good. Like that's good, fun football to watch, and I want Josh Allen to be good. But just again, purely from an odds standpoint, we've probably seen his ceiling. Same with Lamar.
So, okay, say the Bills aren't good. Does Miami run away with that division?
They probably should.
Like if Bills regress to whatever the average would be.
Yeah, an 8-9 or a 9-8 team, I guess. Which is very possible.
Yeah, and then you've got. Do you think Mac Jones and the Patriots are anything above average?
I think that falls on their defense. I think again, just kind of like Denver. Like if they can control a game on the defensive side of the ball, I think you'll get a couple more weeks here, and I think the Patriots actually be pretty decent. With the development of Jones, it's going to take a little bit. But you're right, the Dolphins, though, they could be so far ahead, especially if they win this week over the Bills, and they're up 2-0 already, and the Bills are 0-2. Patriots, they get the Jets, they should win that game. Who knows?
Huge early game. If the coach does what he did last year. I mean, they won 10 games last year, but didn't get into the playoffs. That kind of stunk. And it seems like they're keeping up that momentum. So as long as the coaching doesn't go to complete shit, they should theoretically. I don't know about runaway, but they should be at least the favorites and probably command that division for most of the year. I feel like the Patriots are going to be there with them. Unfortunately, it seems like Jones is at least competent enough to not lose games for them. If Belichick gets that defense back to where it was a couple of years ago, then there's still going to be trouble. But it'd be interesting to see the Dolphins take that division for once.
Yeah, no,
they should. They should.
Yeah.
When do you guys think Fields starts? What week do you guys think Justin Fields starts?
Everyone's calling for week 4.
Right, that's what they think Nagy says, or the internal system says that he's coming in week 4. But
because they play the Lions. Oh, sorry, sorry, Nate. That's just what everybody else is saying.
That would be though a good. Well, no, okay. So take that back, because there was the reason Trey Lance wasn't starting that game. A lot of people said because if your rookie quarterback loses to the Lions,
that could be mentally devastating. Yes. Yeah. True. Very true.
Come on.
Oh.
So as I was saying, my cat got spayed.
Oh.
It's the only thing that we can keep on her, that she can still function, and we don't have to like babysit her every hour, because we were using some other things that she could keep getting off. This definitely does not come off, and she can still eat and stuff. So
you're gonna have to tell me where you got that, because we're always trying to take in like new feral cats and stuff and get them like fixed and all that. And we've had her. They hate the vet given cones. So was that like an Amazon thing or?
Actually, it was PetSmart, Petco.
Okay.
Pet Supplies. No, it was like the good one. Because like Pet Supplies Plus kind of sucks. I think it's Petco.
Okay, that would make sense.
PetSmart.
Did he say he's looking for one of those? I think.
For himself.
Keep himself in line.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was like $20. You know, just
cool.
Air inflatable and
Nice.
it's durable. She's scratched the crap out of it trying to get it off of her. And okay. Yes, I love you too. But,
what a guest appearance.
Yeah, right. Yeah. How to derail
stealing the cat. Totally stealing the show right now with that cuteness.
Yeah, she does this all the time, especially when I'm doing a show. She's got to jump in and make an appearance here. So, but yeah, definitely. I lost my train of thought where I was going with it. But
I'll let you get. I'll buck back. I'm gonna buck back on the Fields week 4 thing.
Yeah, that's what we're talking
yeah, I'm gonna actually buck against that trend. I think it's gonna have a lot to do with their record. If they're 0-3 heading into that game, I actually think they'll give Dalton that last chance to potentially beat a bad team and see if they can get some Dalton momentum still going. So I'm gonna buck against that trend of Fields starting that early. But I think if Dalton loses to the Lions, it's all Fields ahead in week 5 moving forward. And then if they're at midseason and have only won 1 or 2 games, I think they'll finally throw Fields. But it just sounds like Nagy's stubborn and is going to try to hold on to his job as long as possible with the Fields card in his back pocket. So I don't think he's particularly looking to rush Fields out there because I think they know they're so weak in lots of other places, and that Fields isn't going to single-handedly make them a playoff team or anything like that. So I think it's longer than I would take the over on the expected Fields starts.
Yeah, they get the Bengals and the Browns the next 2 games, and so I mean, this week is a good test for Cincinnati to say, our win over the Vikings wasn't just a fluke, even though they pretty much choked the game away and Minnesota couldn't handle it, which is natural. But yeah, I mean that's easy 0-3 if they're probably not going to beat the Browns. Well, maybe they will. I don't know. It's in Cleveland, but
yeah,
I don't know. I think if the Bengals go up quick on them this week, I think we see them.
Maybe they yank him. Totally could see that for sure.
Yeah. So my question would be, how late in the season then until we see Fields? Because I feel at some point they would just be looking like hot trash, as the Bears should. And they just
are Bears fans. It just makes me chuckle.
But wait, we've got 2 NFC North fans on here, so I gotta give some
to the
Bears. And I would say that at some point they've got to be doing so bad with Dalton that they kick in Fields just to say like the season's done, but we can see what we got here. What point do you think that is? How are we talking midpoint of the season, like week 8, week 9?
It's just so I don't know why Dalton even started, to be honest. I don't know. I mean, I get it.
It doesn't make
a shot, but Fields is so good.
Yeah, it makes no sense, but that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I think midseason, and again, it's all kind of going to depend on their record, I feel like. But yeah, I think Nagy's trying to. I think he's almost saying like, yeah, this could be a throwaway year, but give me one more year next year because Fields will have learned under Andy Dalton of all people. And so yeah, I say midseason. I think revenge game next week for Dalton.
Right,
so
yeah. That's what I was thinking, like, what happens?
Fantasy starter.
No, don't do that. Or do it, I guess. Yeah, your opponent will want you to.
That's definitely a YOLO play for sure. But yeah, I think midseason's the easiest, the best guess for Fields right now.
Right, if they go 2-2,
right, then Nagy's gonna be like,
well, we're not gonna put him in there yet.
Yeah.
That guy's gonna lose his job.
So we got to wrap up the NFC North hate with some quick talk about the Packers
Oh, that was so
and
awesome.
how bad they did week 1 and
Yeah.
how much they're going to blow out the Lions this week
You're right.
because of that.
Rodgers is going to be pissed, and it's a primetime game. But that was awesome to see them just get their asses handed to them by the Saints.
It was just so
Yeah.
hard. It just looked like he wasn't there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just
All the
looked
drama.
like he was like, I don't want to be here. You know, I don't know what, what the deal was.
Tinfoil hat on. Part of me wants to think and hope that he came back to like screw over the Packers. Be like, I'm gonna purposely be awful this year, so you're awful, and then I'm gonna bounce and either retire to host Jeopardy or go to Denver and be like, screw you. Good luck with Jordan. So like, part of me will like hopes he has that sort of grudge gene in him. But yeah, I don't know. This week he's probably gonna be like, yeah, I am just gonna destroy the Lions.
Yeah, you don't want to lose to one of your division rivals.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it definitely would say something if he looks bad this week, and the Lions get a win.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
If it's good 2 weeks in a row, getting pulled for Jordan Love, then that's not great.
So what does that do for if he wants another team? Or, I mean, I guess he could just go do Jeopardy, but like he's putting bad tape out. If he's doing this intentionally, that's gotta affect his price if he goes somewhere else. Like, what do you think? Or do you think people overlook that?
I think they would overlook that. Yeah. I think they would just chalk it up to a bad season. We know Rodgers is amazing.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, we shall see. But with that, let's wrap this up. We've completed the 2 hours. We're awesome, and we're here, and we're doing it. So, what I would say is let's just do one more quick round the table of what you guys got going on, where people can find you, and any closing thoughts. Go ahead, Clinton.
Yeah, I'm Clinton at Clinton Holmgren on Twitter. All my stuff's at idpguys.org. I'm new to the content creation and really enjoying it, having a lot of fun. Mostly offensive work, doing some DFS stuff on the website as well. I make no promises, but hopefully can win some money. I really enjoy doing that kind of the DFS contests. Are just a lot of fun. To change up from your every Sunday stuff. Bold prediction. How about I just give a bold prediction? Fields comes in this week. Fields by halftime.
Nice.
All right, Steve, what about you?
Yeah, I pretty much live on Twitter at Dynasty Santa. Always bickering with people on there. Love to argue. I think my pinned tweet right now is like, people take themselves way too seriously on that app. Like, let's all have fun. Like, yeah, I might come at you being a little snarky and whatnot, but that's because it's fun. Like, I'm treating that place like my local bar. Like, I walk in there, have a couple drinks, love to argue about sports. Like, that's how I treat Twitter. So, just doing awesome stuff with the site. I think IDP guys we're going to try to take it to the moon. Tons of potential. I think we really engage with a lot of our subscribers and just the community in general at a high level, at a very positive way. So just let's all interact and make this what it's supposed to be, which is fun.
Yeah. And that was the whole point of doing the IDP Lounge. It's just a chance for us to talk with some people that we want to talk to and keep it fun and open topics. Everyone, when we invite people on, they always ask, so what's the topic for this week? And it's like, there's no topics.
Don't worry about it.
We just come on and we just talk it through. And I think this episode really shows what that can be when, we just went one topic after the next, and we love sports, we love football, and we were able to fill 2 hours of time. So that's pretty awesome. So But yeah, definitely if you're listening to the show, make sure you've subscribed to our YouTube channel. You may not be getting this show on YouTube, but go over to IDP Guys Network and subscribe. Get all of the shows that we're putting out. We're doing some shorts on there. Clinton actually has the DFS Minute short every week. We've got betting props, we've got analysis shorts, and then we've got all of the shows that we've been putting out now. And I will say that, give the announcement, we've got the IDP network on podcast form, and so you can get this show and audio every week. It'll be uploaded
Awesome.
I don't know, right
Sweet.
after this ends. So if you want to listen to us ramble on about sports,
Beautiful.
fairs, all for it. Cats,
The Amish.
yeah, it's all there for you, along with a bunch of our other great shows. So and then finally, just be going to idpguys.org, become a subscriber. There's tons of great tools, weekly rankings. We've got an injury tool up there now, and we've got a custom scoring rankings tool. Just great stuff. And the articles that are put out there for free are amazing as well. So
my favorite is always the Slack chat. That's probably my favorite selling point to people because, everyone, we had it tonight, people in the comments asking start-sit questions and just picking people's brains. But imagine you could pick our entire staff's brain along with all the other subscribers and get so much feedback. That's honestly one of my favorite things that we do. And I know plenty of people have like the Discords and Slacks and whatever, but like I love ours. Everyone's so engaged and giving good opinions, and it's just awesome. My favorite thing.
And what's best about the Slack chat we put together, it's where we already communicate. So we have the public channels, and then we have our private channels that we use for just managing the company. And so all of the writers, everyone involved are already there. And when you submit a question, they get notified. So you're instantly getting quick feedback and quick answers. And then the other subscribers will chime in too, because there's guys like Joe G. He's been playing fantasy football for
shout out
forever.
Joe G.
Yeah,
shout out
Joe G gets so many good shout outs.
That's our guy. That's our guy.
But even I talked to someone today that said that he's interacted a little bit, but honestly most of his questions get answered just by reading the topics that already come up during the week. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a huge selling point for us. So definitely become a subscriber, get into the Slack chat. And so with that, we're gonna wrap this up. Thanks Steve and Clinton for coming on the show. And thanks everyone out there for listening. We will be back next Saturday night at 9. And one last thing, Andrew says, is Joe G Joey's burner? All right.
That would be interesting. See ya.